We are here to build, we are here to work together. As groundwork, when we go and talk about climate change, it becomes hard. We work in spaces where people are extremely vulnerable. They are already facing the effects. They are also in a vulnerable position. Using creative methodologies, it actually brings people to be at the center. It makes people come alive. It gets people to talk, and that's what we need, for people to actually raise their voices about the issues that they are facing on the ground. And it gives us workable solutions, because we are not coming up with the solutions, but the people are coming with the solutions. And that's why it makes the project as a whole even more accessible, even more doable, even more enjoyable. So it gives us perseverance as well as a project team.
When you engage with creativity, what happened in my experience is that it creates a bubble of curiosity around you. The power dynamic is shifted. And in that moment where it shifts, I believe that knowledge can be transferred in a much more humane way. Today the performance was about borrowing the form of a ritual that exists, which is the imbomvu. With that form, we created curiosity around us. It's kind of quite absurd, and as a result, it makes people ask a lot of questions of what's happening here. That's the thing that we are actually looking for, is the question. It is a way to open ourselves up to dialogue. And once we put ourselves there, we become vulnerable enough so that people can open up themselves to us and us to them. The title of this free work is a call to come back to the earth.
In other words, a call to get back to the basics. The people in the margins are already doing the work. What can we take from them? What can we learn from them for our own practice in terms of climate change work? Because we can't be inventing things when the work is already being done. We came in the first year as researchers, as ethnographers. So we were already in the market, observing the performances of the market, because performance does not begin when lights are on. Yeah. Performance happens every day. And we thought, let's come up with a series. The first intervention is us getting into the market, building curiosity, and saying we are here. Then the second one took the form of a hit and run theater. It was two traders in the market who had to perform fights. Fight or struggle or battle is language in the market, like an embodied language that plays itself out a lot in the market as people are fighting for space. People were buying into the fight and trying to stop them. They were trying to stop the fight, and then there were curiosities afterwards, like what was happening? Was that a performance?
The message, if you want, or the work is not something didactic that says don't throw rubbish on the ground, but it is more about a performance series that starts to make us feel about our environment.
We could come up with solutions as town planners. This is what is needed in the market. But it was important, especially for this project, which is what I love about the Zero Waste project that the UFC and its partners have come up with. We're using many methodologies, including this creative component, to figure out what the issues are, but also what the solutions are from the people that are in the market, because they have knowledge about their practice in their everyday life.
I'm Vaughan Sadie. I'm a visual artist that works in participatory practice and participatory methodologies. What we've been working with currently in Durban is working with the archive of Asiya Tafaleni, and we've been working with a group of street traders, and they've been going through those images and starting to tell their personal life stories. It was quite a profound icebreaker, just kind of getting them to visualize the market and then getting them to really think around specifics, like things that were really burning issues for each of them individually, and then kind of working on how those were connected. Within that, they are starting to narrate their own lives, and they're starting to attach meaning to the images in a way that drives their own narrative. In this process specifically, I was really hoping to bind the group together, give them a sense of how they could communicate collectively back to all the researchers that were going to participate in processes with them. Often those processes are incredibly complex and there's particular power dynamics that often silence those that are being researched. Within this was also kind of giving the traders a sense that they have agency as a group and individually.
The third stage of a creative series. This specific one was entitled Mina, Wena, Tina. Collectively, we can be part of the climate change agenda.
When you approach the market, the first thing that you feel is the beats of the music, the beats of everybody's practice every day. The idea of a moving music box with performers, dancers, and researchers, which was there to engage the public that is onlooking around the issue of climate change.
Which is a creative way of engaging on climate change issues without necessarily being preachy. And the conversation was happening organically. People were asking, what is
Yes.
it? Oh, asikhulume ngani.
When we engage in those creative moments, we have to understand that everybody is creative. That language is a language that is understood beyond communicative. It's something that is sensory. And when the feeling is put out there and it's being shared, there is a sense of humanity that is in place that allow us to talk to each other in a very specific way than we would have if it was in a boardroom, for example, or in a formal meeting. And I think with that feeling, we can do something.